For 300,000 years, people woke up without an alarm clock, without a boss checking their messages, and without a single Monday morning meeting. That's almost the entire span of human existence, and somehow the species survived just fine. So what did people actually fill their days with? Before any of us had a job? Nobody set an alarm because nobody needed one. The body handled that job on its own, waking most people close to sunrise, when light naturally interrupts sleep. There was no rush to leave the house, no traffic to sit in, no messages piling up somewhere. The first thought of the morning had nothing urgent attached to it. Anthropologists studying the Hadza people of Tanzania found something that upends most modern assumptions about survival. Adults in Hadza communities spend roughly 15 to 20 hours a week gathering food. Similar long-term studies exist for other groups around the world. Researchers recorded similar numbers among groups in the Kalahari Desert, in parts of the Amazon, and among Aboriginal communities in Australia. 4 different continents, 4 different climates. Fieldworkers recorded the same rhythm using time diaries, not guesses. And the same basic pattern kept appearing. A few hours of work, followed by a long stretch of open time. Compare 15 to 20 hours against the standard 40-hour work week most people clock today. Add commuting. Add emails answered from the couch at night. And the math tips even further in favor of the ancient schedule. Somewhere along the way, humans started working more, not less. Even as tools and technology supposedly made life easier. Children and older adults in these communities rarely worked at all. Most of the labor fell on adults in their physical prime, while everyone else spent their time resting, playing, or simply sitting near the fire. Work divided loosely along gender lines in most groups. Men tracked and hunted more often. Women gathered plants and small game more often. All that spare time went somewhere. Groups told stories after dark. People carved tools, strung beads into jewelry, and taught children skills nobody wrote down in a book. Teaching happened through direct observation. A child watched an adult track footprints in the dirt, identify a plant by its smell, or start a fire with 2 pieces of wood, and eventually the child could do the same. Childhood blended into adult life instead of sitting apart from it, inside a separate building for 12 years. Play looked a lot like training without anyone calling it that. A stick became a spear, a footprint game became tracking practice. Skeletons tell a story that contradicts the assumption that ancient life wore people down. Bones recovered from before the rise of farming belonged to people who were taller, stronger, and had considerably healthier teeth than the generations that followed agriculture. Once farming spread, cavities increased sharply because of grain-heavy diets. Arthritis became more common because of repetitive labor, and in some regions, average height actually dropped. Movement patterns explain part of that shift. A hunter-gatherer's day involved walking, climbing, crouching, and carrying, constantly rotating which muscles and joints absorb the strain. A farmer's day often meant the same motion, hour after hour, season after season. Researchers studying stress markers on ancient bones found early farmers carrying far more physical wear than hunter-gatherers ever did, sometimes starting in childhood. Isotope analysis on ancient teeth even reveals what people actually ate season by season. None of that explains the art, though. In a cave system in southern France, painters created images of horses, lions, and rhinos roughly 30,000 years ago, using shading and perspective that took real skill to pull off. Someone sat by firelight for hours, maybe entire days, purely to put an animal on a wall. Archaeologists have also recovered shell beads used as jewelry, dating back about 100,000 years, along with a carved bone flute roughly 40,000 years old. Similar instruments turn up on different continents, suggesting music wasn't a rare accident. Small carved figures, often called Venus figurines, appear at sites across Europe, some more than 25,000 years old, shaped with obvious care and detail. Burial sites from this period sometimes contain tools, beads, and red ochre pigment, placed deliberately beside a body, evidence of ritual rather than panic. Painters ground minerals like ochre and charcoal into pigment before applying it. Some caves preserve handprints stenciled directly onto the rock. Creating any of that required uninterrupted hours, functioning light, and a full stomach nobody had to worry about refilling in the next 30 minutes. Culture didn't arrive as a reward humans earned after solving survival. It grew directly out of the free time survival already left behind. Farming eventually gave humanity cities, writing, and permanent settlements, but the transition carried a steep short-term cost. More food led to more people, More people needed more labor, and the leisure-heavy rhythm humans had followed for hundreds of thousands of years began disappearing. Agriculture also introduced surplus, something hunter-gatherer bands rarely had to manage. Once a family could grow more grain than it needed immediately, it could store the extra, and storage required someone willing to guard it. Guarding surplus meant some households ended up controlling more than their neighbors, and researchers point to exactly this moment as the likely origin of hierarchy and inequality. Some of the earliest recorded conflicts in human history trace back to disputes over stored grain. Ownership followed close behind. Land, grain, and livestock became things a person could claim, defend, and eventually fight over. Permanent villages brought their own problems too, spreading disease faster, and forcing people to stay put, even when conditions turned dangerous. Something a hunter-gatherer band could simply walk away from. Free time that once filled most of the day shrank into a narrow strip squeezed around work. None of this makes farming a mistake. It fed billions of people that hunting and gathering never could have supported. But everyone living through that shift paid for it, in longer hours, harder bodies, and far less time spent doing nothing in particular. A single farming season could demand more total hours than an entire year of hunting and gathering. Most people today squeeze a hobby into whatever hour is left after work. Ancient humans never squeezed anything in. The time was already theirs. So painting a cave wall or carving a bead wasn't stolen from a packed schedule. Nobody had to justify taking a break, because breaks weren't something you had to earn first. It was simply how an ordinary day unfolded. Humans today share the same biology as those cave painters. Somewhere across those thousands of years, a large share of collective freedom got traded for food security, and free time got traded for population growth. That trade never really got renegotiated. Modern schedules stack meetings, notifications, and deadlines into almost every waking hour. None of that existed for most of human history. Constant work isn't some hardwired feature of being human. It's a habit that built up gradually through farming, then factories, then offices, then phones that follow people home, and keep pinging long after they've clocked out. And keep pinging long after they've clocked out. A full day of rest carried no guilt attached to it at all. Maybe rest isn't something to earn. Maybe it's something we simply forgot we already had.